lasting from 1791 to 1804, also known as the Haitian Slave Revolt, was one of the most successful slave revolts in all of human history, taking a stand against both French and British forces to eventually gain independence, sparking a movement of independence throughout Latin America. Through inspiration of current events at the time, sheer military might, and driven by a desire to finally stand up against awful conditions brought upon by the French, the newly liberated nation of Haiti was formed, the second independent nation of the Americas. During the mid to late 1700s, European nations had colonized Hispanic countries, forcing the people of these newly claimed colonies to be forcibly absorbed into the parent country. In most cases, the laws were better suited for white men and worse for those of color. The countries that would seize Hispanic countries would include Spain, Italy, Britain, and France. In the case of Haiti, it was colonized by the French. When the French had gained control of the new colony, it was renamed to Saint-Domingue and would remain that name until the end of the Revolution. Slavery was forced upon those of color. Slavery was brutal when conducted by the French, with whippings and beatings, so lots of use as forms of punishment to said slaves. Work for these slaves was intense and unforgiving, with no time to rest, eat, or drink. The people of Saint-Domingue were also denied a political voice in France. The situation was very similar to that of pre-revolutionary America, where there were taxes and other political decisions being made without any consensus from the actual people of the colonies. The people of Saint-Domingue were continuously asking for French for some type of representation in their legislation. There was little to no response from the French, and there would continue to be no acknowledgement until the middle of the Revolution. And this here was another big cause for the Revolution. A social hierarchy was created when the French reclaimed the land. The hierarchy that was put into place was reminiscent of that of South America at the time of apartheid, where white people were at the top and had many more privileges, yet were only a fraction of the colony's population. The Maroons and slaves were underneath the white people. The Maroons were actually free slaves, but held little to no rights. The island of Haiti, or Saint-Domingue, as the French named it, was a rich colony. This was because of the sugar that could be grown, and sugar was a cash crop at the time, making it something to exploit. During the colony's peak, it produced nearly 40% of the world's sugar and almost 70% of the world's coffee. The process to grow and harvest sugar is a very tough one, and this labor was left to the slaves of Saint-Domingue. This is a spark that ignited the revolution. With prior events to inspire the revolution, like both French and American Revolution, there were revolts at plantations where the slaves would overpower the owner of the plantation and kill him. Though this was significant, slave revolts happened time to time on the various European colonies and were usually stopped before anything big could happen. Saint-Domingue was different. The colony had a population of 620,000 people. There were 80,000 white people on the island and around 530,000 slaves and black folk on the island. There was already a huge advantage the slaves and the colored folk had over those of white skin. The revolts that had happened were not being settled down, and as more and more slaves got the news, the movement kept growing. With more than 5 times the amount of slaves on the island, there was no reason to stop. 1793, 2 years after the momentum was gained in Saint-Domingue, and the French priest Henry Gregoire had declared men of color equal to that of white men, there was a call of arms from the people on the island from France. France promised that if the people of the island helped fight the royalists, that slavery would be abolished in Saint-Domingue. This did go through, and slavery was abolished in 1793 by Le Guet Félix Saint-Soutenance. When slavery was abolished in the colony, the British saw this as a threat to the slave-oriented colonies they controlled. By 1794, the British invaded the island, but due to smallpox and the sheer might of Haitian forces, the British suffered heavy losses and fled. As the revolution was continuing to pick up pace, the man who had become the head of the whole revolution was Toussaint Louverture. He had become the governor of the colony by 1796. By 1801, 10 years of fighting since the first few slave revolts, over 100,000 slave lives have been lost, and over 10,000 white lives have also been lost, a very large portion of the colony's population. In February of 1801, even though the colony was still under French control, Toussaint Louverture wrote up a constitution of the country of Saint-Domingue. It included Catholicism becoming the country's main religion, Those who get a job are tied to their work, and it also made Toussaint Louverture leader for life. Quite the declaration. After the Constitution was written, Napoleon Bonaparte of France got wind of this newly created Constitution, adding to his increasing worry of the situation going on in Saint-Domingue. Napoleon ultimately decided to send a French expeditionary force to the island to stop the ongoing conflict and to reestablish slavery. Napoleon sent his brother-in-law, General Charles Leclerc, to lead this force. The French expeditionary force would land on Saint-Domingue by 1802. By this time, the Haitian Revolution had outlasted the French Revolution, the main event from which its inspiration was from. Fighting on the island would happen for another year. Within this window of a year, the revolution's leader, Toussaint Louverture, was captured by French forces. He was sent back to France to spend the rest of his days in prison. This action was thought to bring an end to the revolution, but Jean-Jacques Dessalines, a general of the Haitian forces, took charge. The revolution wasn't over yet. A year after the French forces landed in Saint-Domingue, French forces had yet to stop any of the fighting and had failed to reestablish any form of slavery. Toussaint Louverture was captured by French forces, but with General Jean-Jacques Dessalines, now the leader of the revolution, there was truly nothing that the French could do. The final battle of the Haitian Revolution was the Battle of Versailles. The French were defeated by Haitian forces on November 18th, 1803. On January 1st of 1804, less than 2 months after the French were defeated, Jean-Jacques Dessalines wrote an Act of Independence, Liberty or Death. The declaration denounced any rule that the French had once had over the people of Saint-Domingue, and that the people of Saint-Domingue were more than capable of running things on their own without the French. The people of Saint-Domingue would rename the country to Haiti, the original name of the country before the French had arrived. The nation of Haiti would become the first ever black republic founded. It was also the second ever revolution that would defeat a European power, and it would be the first and only ever successful slave revolt in all of history. The revolution of Haiti would inspire a wave of revolutions all throughout the Caribbean and Hispanic colonies, inspiring those of these colonies to stand up and fight against the forces that had controlled their land. Slavery was forever abolished on the island, and the age of European colonialism was starting to fall, with nations showing that these thought to be great powers can be defeated. The Haitian Revolution, paired with the American Revolution, can be labeled as the countries that began taking a stand in this new age of newfound independence.
Well, I have prior knowledge on the American Revolution and the French Revolution, and whether it be on my time browsing YouTube or looking into on my own, I vaguely heard about the Haitian Revolution, and what really caught my eye was it was the first and only ever successful slave revolt in all of history, and to establish the first ever black republic. And to that, to me, is interesting. You don't hear a lot of that. You know, the American Revolution beat the British, and the French fought themselves, but this is kind of a one-up. You don't hear about this too often. I didn't know a lot about the topic, so I thought the NHD assignment would be a great opportunity to learn more about it.
That's very interesting. That was the first successful slave revolt. In your opinion, why do you think that was? Compared to the other ones that were, or they always ended horrible for slaves.
I think everything came together at the right time. You had the American Revolution going on and finishing up, and you had the French Revolution. The colonists, so even fighting themselves. So I think that, like I said in the videos, kind of sparked and lit a flame, because that motivation and that realization that, wait a minute, these once sought, like seeing powers to be undefeatable, to be defeated by the people that they're controlling, and not with too much effort. I mean, they can fight and they can win. And I think everything coming together at that time really got that ball rolling, allowing this to happen.
What do you think the impact been on Haiti today compared to other Caribbean countries?
Well, today, Haiti was the first republic founded, and like in the case of the Russian Revolution and the French Revolution, the idea, the whole purpose was positive. It was to remove the colonists, the imperial countries dominating them, and to install a government that brought up the people. While, like the French Revolution, that faded away. The leader of the Haitian Revolution set himself as emperor for life, creating a dictatorship, and he's one of the poorest countries today. But I think what it did is I think the impact of it was a lot more than itself, because it did get the ball rolling, and it got that inspiration and that flame spread into all of the Caribbean and Middle American islands, and that allowed for Mexico, free from Spain, and Cuba from Spain, and all the other Caribbean countries to really free themselves.
Is there anything that we can ask you to share?
Let's see. I just think it's interesting how this, along with a lot of the other revolutions, all came together at the same time. It seems as though the environment was perfect. I don't know what it was. I guess it was just at that time, right before the Industrial Revolution, when sovereignty and independence was being gained from a lot of countries. And I think important to note that at this time, in seriously like 50, even like 30 years, so many countries started to rebel and to gain independence from the host countries that originally dominated them.
Did you find it easy finding material on the subject?
Well, since this is like late 1700s, early 1800s, cameras and photographs and even audio weren't around, so I had to look for paintings. So finding primary sources that were capturing battle rather than a document or a letter written was really hard. Most of the paintings up here were made after or right at the end, so it was kind of hard to find that. So I had to use a lot of images. So finding a lot of images is why that paper is so thick, because I had to find so many images and so many references to actually give context and some type of visual to documentary, so it's entertaining and good to watch. Yeah, thank you very much.
Very good.